Um, Hello, everyone. Sorry, I have to maybe do like that. Hi, everyone, and warmly welcome to this side event titled Regeneration of Soils for Future Generations, where we will have the chance to discuss and highlight the importance of soils to have good food for all today and tomorrow. The event is organized by the Swedish International Agricultural Network Initiative, SIANI, Eastern Africa Farmers Federation, the Coalition of Action for Soil Health, CASH, the Government of Sweden, the Swedish University for Agricultural Sciences and Ristolab. So we are a big group of people engaged in this event, and we are very happy to see all of you here. My name is Jonna, and I work at SIANI as a project coordinator. And with me, leading you through this event today, I have Sofia.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, talking about this very important topic and making it also so accessible to everyone, because usually we don't really talk about it. My name is Sofia. Thank you so much for this collaboration with SIANI. It's always a pleasure. And I am the co-founder of Ristolab. That is an innovative startup. I have a PhD in ethnobotany, and I'm a scientist. And my co-founder and partner in life and in business is a chef. And we try to merge the research side with the gastronomy side to make research more digestible. So pleasure to be here.
Yes, and we will soon be hearing some inspirational talks from young people leading initiatives and working for improved soil health. We will also be having a very prominent panel discussing the importance of youth engagement in this issue. But we would like to start with the questions for all of you participants. So I will just share my screen. Just a second. Yeah.
Okay, so Jonna and I actually came up with this question together in order to start, brainstorming, breaking down this topic into something, into a bite. So what was the last delicious meal that you ate? You can go to the Menti. There is the code behind at the bottom of the screen. If you want to type it and just type anything that comes into your mind or a meal that you particularly enjoyed. In this way, you can really reconnect to the food experience that you had, and then we can kickstart the whole conversation and debate from there. Okay, so I can already see melanzane, sushi, risotto. Samyai, samgar, noodles, pasta carbonara, pizza amatriciana, risotto. So many things. Tiramisu. Making me a bit hungry here, so I'm gonna stop. But this was just something to kickstart the day and to really start thinking about the connection between food and soil. We can start thinking about health and healthy food, but we can go all the way back at the source of the food, right? So the soil, so the health of the soil. And this is how we want to start today.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of your delicious meals. But now I will hand over to the main attraction of the event today. That is that we will hear 3 young persons all leading initiatives to improve the condition of our soils in different ways. So we will be hearing Mr. Omaru Moimu. He will be joining us online, hopefully soon. We are having some issues with the Zoom links. We also have with us Leon Pepe Buindo from Alnarp's Agroecology Farm. And then we have Lucas from Cycle to Farms. And you will learn more about their work now. I will actually start with handing the word to you, Leon. So please.
Yes. Microphone is on. Okay. Okay, everybody. My name is Leon. I'm the production manager of the Anab's agroecology farm, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I will present you our project. We are a project carried out by students and postgraduates at the Swedish University of Agriculture, and we're based in Alnarp in southern Sweden. We are a community-based non-for-profit organization. We have a board of 8 people, of which 5 are present here today. And we have a group of volunteers, which we call the custodians, of around 200 people that interact with the farm on a regular basis. We're a small-scale horticultural farm. That means we produce vegetables, and we're based on agroecological principles. For those who don't know what agroecology means, it's in short, very short, basically the combination of science, movement, and practice. And the idea is to shape food systems so that they are sustainable economically, socially, and environmentally. That's our main goal, I would say. We are a community-supported agriculture, which is basically a direct consumer-producer relationship. And we are a model for local food productions. Lately, SIANI has posted or published a leaflet. Maybe somebody could lift that up. We have a couple here. If you're interested, look at them. They're wonderful, and thank you so much, SIANI. I was asked to talk a little bit about the soil health challenges that we are facing on our small-scale production. And this is how our farm looked like in spring 2022. It's agricultural land that has been used mechanically with organic management for the last 40 years. And we could see that there was heavy soil compaction and a strong nutrient depletion, and that led to waterlogging issues due to a plow pan. We have biodiversity loss on the field, and we have loss of soil organic carbon. For those who are new to soil organic carbon, it's an important parameter for biological soil health or in general soil health because it's a habitat and a food source for the microbiome. It's important for forming aggregates in the soil. It's important for water retention and also for climate change mitigation because it's basically sequestering carbon in the ground. And what we can realize, or what we came to realize, is that we lost most of the ecosystem functions on the farm, which compromise the functionality of our agroecosystem and its ability to self-regulate. So how do we manage this and how do we reclaim our soil health? And what we are using is called market gardening. It's a management approach that has been getting more and more attention in the last years. And there's a couple underlying principles that I'm going to take you through, and that's mainly minimizing soil disturbance, which means we are a no-dig production. We don't turn the soil anymore. We maintain permanent soil cover, and we maximize living roots in the soil to feed and protect our microbiome. And we do that through cover cropping and crop rotations, but also through successional plantings. And then we work very actively towards increasing soil organic carbon in the ground, since I said it's an important parameter for soil health. We do that mainly through mulching and compost mulching. And then we promote biodiversity in our agroecosystem, and that's mainly through diversified farming approaches. And I think the underlying and most important realization that we have had is that to secure and reclaim soil health, you need to take care, or we need to take care of our living microorganisms that are in the ground. It's basically taking care of a living organism in the ground, which is the microbiome. So to manage and maintain soil health, you kind of need to team up with your microbes. That's kind of what we came to conclude. As a practical approach here in this picture, you can see an aerial picture of the farm. It's a third of the farm. And on the very bottom, you can see like a tiny snippet of a permanent plastic polytunnel. That's a research polytunnel. Just keep that in mind for orientation. I will show that later in another picture. What we can see in the light green circle, that is our outdoor field production. Those are our permanent beds that we have in the production. And then we have intensive productions in the polytunnel. We have a composting area, or you can't really see it here so well. It's like highlighted brown. This is where we recycle our plant residues and produce partially our own compost. Then we have perennial crops in the production, which are to kind of support the annual field crops. And then we have like extensive crops in an extra area, which are just less labor intense, but still provide a crop that we can use for our CSA model. Then we have a biodiversity and a flower patch. We have a windbreak, and we have a tiny little agroforestry system here that you can see, but it extends much more in reality. We planted around 1,000 trees. And this is to show you that we use multiple cropping systems all together, basically, to create as many synergies as possible. As a progress over time, you've seen this before. This was spring 2022. This is how it looked like a year later. And here you can see that the farm has been about 1,000 square meters, and we've been producing for around 30 families at that point, which is around 100 humans kind of. And then the latest status is summer 2024. Here you can see the farm is basically reaching until the very back. There's a small little polytunnel. It's very far away, but on the picture you can see in the center, there's this like green little plastic area that's polytunnels. Now we are covering around 200 square meters, 200 meters of distance, 2,500 square meters, and we're producing for around 100 families, roughly 300 humans, through different sale channels. So we've grown substantially in this year, basically. And the exciting news for you is that there has been research conducted on the farm. I have been the researcher. I did it for my horticultural science degree at the SLU ONAP. And what I'm going to show you is the results of the soil organic matter that I have been measuring. On the right-hand side in yellow, you can see the field production, which essentially is the organic field that's surrounding us, on which we have established our farm. And you can see that the organic matter in percent is ranging throughout the research period around 2%. It's decreasing, but not significantly through the research period. And then on the left-hand side, the market gardening system in pink colors, that's the farm that we have been working on. And you can see that the organic matter is substantially higher, about 125% in comparison to the organic field, which is huge. And it has also increased significantly over time of the research period. And that basically showcases that reclaiming soil health can work if it's been managed carefully. It also kind of works to sequester carbon in the ground and also stabilize it over time. In this case, it's a very short time frame, but we can see that we have stabilized the soil organic matter. I also looked at other parameters which are relevant for biological soil health. And those were microbial respiration, microbial activity, soil bulk density, soil protein content, and active carbon. And relevant for you to know at this point is that all parameters, so 100%, responded positively to the management that we are applying, and they have also increased significantly in comparison to the organic field management. That's very exciting news. And basically that brings us to the conclusion, or we believe that through agroecology and careful soil health management, sustainable food productions for the future are possible. In this picture, you can see the majority of the board, our summer interns, of which one is going to be a board member very soon, and a professor from SLU who's working with us regularly on the farm. And I would like to take the moment here now to thank the amazing team for all this work. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for that, Lucas. And we forgot to say that you will, of course, have the opportunity to ask questions, but we will take that towards the end of the session. I will now give the word to Lucas, who is one of the initiators of the project Cycle to farms. But before he tells you more about the project, we will actually be watching a short video that they have produced. Hopefully, it should be coming soon.
Hello.
In this journey, we delve into the remarkable efforts of regenerative agricultural farmers and explore the profound meaning of regenerative agriculture in their lives. Through this video, we share and celebrate the relentless efforts of individuals who have taken matters into their own hands to combat climate change. They are the ones crafting innovative solutions without waiting for policymakers, businesses, or society to act. These farmers are visionaries, building systems designed to last for a millennium. What we discovered was that the farmers visited are building a new world. They have embraced a holistic approach that seamlessly weaves together economic, social, and cultural aspects of life. Despite varying contexts, these farmers all adhere to similar regenerative practices, including crop rotation, zero to minimum tillage, crop diversification, food forest establishment, cover crop utilization, water harvesting, composting, and the avoidance of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. These practices increase biodiversity both below and above ground. Moreover, this farming ethos places significant importance on social aspects, particularly community building. Nearly every visited farm highlighted the integration of their community within their regenerative efforts. Throughout our journey, we observed not only shared principles but also aligned practices of regenerative agriculture across all visited farms. We believe in a future with a healthy food system, but much work remains. Achieving 1,000-year solutions require aggressive patience and determination. Today, we can take action by learning from, supporting, and collaborating with regenerative farmers as we build a better world together. This journey celebrates the farmers who bring hope and positive change in the face of climate challenges, inspiring us to create a harmonious coexistence between humanity and nature.
Great. And Lucas, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Thank you so much for sharing this video. Can you tell us a little bit more about the background of the project and who you are?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Lucas Poltnavicius. Together with Aisha, we decided to take a little bit different approach, and instead of learning only through theory, although we did our master's and bachelor's in food policy and agricultural technologies in the Wageningen University in research in the Netherlands, but we decided that we would like to learn about regenerative agriculture through the eyes of the farmers and through putting our own hands into the soil. And I think that was the best approach that we could have chosen, because indeed the farmers, every day they're crafting those new innovative solutions, and sometimes it's very difficult to compress them in a few minutes video to show what they're doing, how their lives look like. But I think living with we visited around 25 farms. We stayed on all of them for at least a week or even longer. Because, during the first 3 days when you come to a farm, you usually you see what you want to see. And after 3-4 days, you start to see the reality, the local dynamics. And currently now we have moved to United States. So unfortunately, we cannot be there with you. Aisha, she has started her journey now. Cycle to Farms is continuing academic journey at MIT. So she's doing her PhD project, also focused on regenerative agriculture, focused on climate finance aspects and environmental finance on regenerative agriculture, smallholder farmers in Kenya. Yeah, so that's maybe briefly from our side.
Thank you so much for that, Lucas. And we will also get a chance to ask you questions at the end of the session. But with that, I would like to present our third speaker, Omari Mwaimo from the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation, who will share with us the challenges that they faced in the region related to soil degradation. So please, Omari, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good evening. As you have introduced me, my name is Omari Mwaimo. I am a farmer and Director of Youth Affairs at the Eastern African Farmers Federation. So today I'm going to share the EAFF, Eastern African Farmers Federation perspective and initiative for regenerating soil earth to ensure food security for the future generation. And we start by introducing EAFF, the Eastern African Farmers Federation. This is a corporate member-based regional farmers organization founded in 2001, registered under Society Act in Kenya. EAFF comprises of 24 farmers organizations from 10 countries in this eastern part of Africa, and representing around 25 million farmers across this East Africa region. Our vision is to have a prosperous and cohesive farming community in the Eastern Africa. So now on soil earth, I'll start with a quote from Alfred Grant. He said, similar to air, the soil is not different to pollution, but human welfare depends on its well-being. Hence, it's our responsibility to safeguard it. As we all know, challenges to agriculture productivity poses serious threat to the livelihood and well-being of millions of peoples across Africa. And as World Bank narrates, one of the main causes of this earth and the fertility of the continent soils. 2/3 of the land available for production is considered degraded, resulting in low crop and livestock yields, poverty, and a decline in the natural resources. The average fertilizer application rate in Eastern Africa is around 20 kilograms per hectare, compared to the global standard around 196 kilograms per hectare. While skyrocketing and high volatile fertilizer prices reduce the application even more. Moreover, the fertilizer applied are not always suitable to the need of the soil, and the crops can be of low quality or complementary inputs, and the advisory services are usually missing, leading to the low efficiency and sometimes even further degradation in the long run, soil degradation in the long run. So it is important, it's very imperative to recognize that the farmer are the forefront of the soil crisis. We agree that we are contributing to the problem, but we are also, as the farmer, we are highly affected by the impact of the soil degradation. The current agriculture system is look more like a extractive industry, very unsustainable in utilizing natural resources, particularly water and soils. This degrades the soil nutrient even further. This leads to about half of the agricultural land is now degraded, causing to the losses in the productivities amount to $400 billion, and the anticipated 30% rises in food prices in 2035, according to World Economic Forum's in 2022. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, EAFF, and our members, we have taken a proactive measures to reverse the concern and the threat by spearheading effort to restore soil earth ensure food security for future generation, and combating climate change and the biodiversity losses. For instance, EAFF has been active in promoting climate smart agriculture, CSA, in East Africa as a primary focus on sustainable agriculture and land management. As a core set of, we focus more on sustainable agriculture and land management as a core part of the CSA practices. We established over 143 demonstrations, farms, showcasing various CSA practices, including nutrient management, water conservation, and the tree nurseries. We trained over 246 CSA experts who were served as a trainer, and then we were able to train over 12,000 farmers, where 70% of them were youth, on CSA practices across East Africa. And over 7,000 farmers have adopted the practices very well. So we believe this kind of initiative should be crucial and need to be replicated for maintaining soil earth, which is essential for sustainable agriculture and food system global. And on this 2nd and 3rd of October this month, we convened a regional pre-COP29 workshop for our members under the theme, Mobilizing Farmers for Climate Action, Navigating the Path to COP29. And one of the topics discussed by our expert is soil earth for climate resilient food system, what farmers need to know. And we came up with a call to action on enhancing soil earth. And our call to action toward COP29 is soil degradation and high acidity across East Africa severely reduce agricultural productivity, threatening food security and food sovereignty in the region. These poor soil conditions limit crop yields and the ability of community to sustainably manage their food system. EAFF calls for integration of soil earth into climate degradation and biodiversity negotiations. Earth soil provided essential ecosystem services, including carbon sequestrations and climate adaptation. EAFF supports large-scale restoration of degraded soils and call for recognition of soil organic carbon as a key indicator of soil earth. So I wanted to share a brief of our experience and call to action from this point toward to COP2019 as part of experience sharing from this part of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. And I should also say that you were actually supposed to be here with us, but unfortunately you weren't able to get a visa on time. So we're really happy that you can join us online, but would of course wish to have you here in the room. Thank you to all these great speakers that you'll get to talk more with later. But now we would actually like to engage the participants a little bit again. So I will just have to share my screen.
So I also remember the people online that if you want, you can write in the chat box any kind of question, and then we will collect the questions and read them out loud. So in terms of brainstorming that we would like to do now, what solutions can you think of to improve soil health? After hearing all these amazing good practices and practice models, I think you can drop down at the code that you can see 29852348. Write down anything that pops up into your hand, or if you heard of other success stories, we would love to hear them. And now we can have a little discussion after that.
hopefully.
Yeah. Compost. We will keep it going. In the meantime, if you have any question directly to one of the speakers for the stories that you heard, this is the perfect time to ask it, either for people online or that are here in person.
A lot of great ideas here. I think we have compost and cover crops are also mentioned, intercropping, crop rotation, no tillage. But we also have some related to how we consume, integrate human composting as well, and carbon credit solutions. So a lot of great and interesting ideas here.
Okay, so this was a first question, and I think a lot of these keywords really came from the good practices that we heard. Then we have a second question that is a bit deeper. What do we need more of to scale up solutions? Sometimes we often hear about good solutions, right? But then how do we connect the dots, and how can we scale up from a few solutions to make it into a movement maybe, or into a bigger change? Sometimes we talk also about systemic change. We would like to hear your thoughts about this as well. Personally, from my side, I need to thank all the speakers because you gave me a lot of inspiration. And from what I do personally with my startup, we're trying to change the restaurant business, which is not easy. And I think it's also connected. The whole food system is connected. And so the restaurant is just a little dot in the sea, in the ocean of players and bigger fishes that operate in this food system. So it was amazing to hear some practices that we will integrate in our restaurant as well. Thanks. So to scale up.
Here I'm thinking about, I mean, many of the discussions that we have heard during just this second day of this forum, we have heard talks about innovation, we have heard talks about research and knowledge, and also funding and finance. So these are, of course, all parts that we need in order to scale up solutions, but it's also a question of like, how do we actually make those things accessible for everyone, youth, for example, but also others at the forefront. And I see you have a lot of thoughts on this. So I see money and support. Money is in the middle, maybe.
It's also written in many other different ways: funding, economic support. But also community support is coming up a lot. So that's more of a social support, community support, indigenous. Funding remains the main one. Education. So I guess capacity building as well, in terms of education, in terms of community and the social part that goes along the economic part.
Great. Yeah, the word cloud is getting smaller and smaller and more difficult to read. So maybe that's our cue to continue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So I think we can also turn the lights a little bit on now and move on. I will present. Hello. Buongiorno. I will present another 4 speakers, Rikke Grandolivera, Victor Muiru, Kevin Perkins, and Daniela Solis. I will let them explain a bit better their role, their affiliation, and I will start with the first question for you all. which is, given your role and organization, what are your reflections on the initiatives we just heard about? I will start with Rike.
So, good afternoon. I'm Rike Oliveira. I work for EAFF, which is a smaller UN organization than FAO. We are a fund, so we invest in agriculture development and more broadly also rural development. It doesn't need to be agriculture, but our mandate is rural poverty. So integration of rural communities in rural economies that works for everyone. This is what EAFF does. My role in EAFF is that I'm the global lead on land tenure and natural resource management, and I'm also playing a key role in leading our work on agroecology. So when I hear from those three really nice examples, this is really good to know that we have the youth right there and they want to do this and they have the eyes on this, how important soil is. Because I don't think we always have really realized how important soil is. I think water has been around for a long time, but soil is really a key point. So I think that was really nice to hear. And I also think what you all a bit had in common, we had the research part. We need to learn more. We need to research more as we do, as we produce the food. So this learning by doing, experimenting, and even monitoring, what does it mean? What do we achieve? Really nice to see as well. There was the example of the training. We got online training people. One thing that is really key in scaling is that this kind of farming is knowledge intensive, and we have to accept that. And this is what we meet all over the world. We can get people to adopt. You support them with training support. When the projects are ending, we still see quite a bit of disadoption, as we call it in our language. So nice to see that there was eyes on that, the importance of training, and then the sharing. The story with going around the world, learning from everybody, because everybody's kind of struggling sometimes with the same things, but then in completely different agro-ecosystems. So that's always something to learn. So I thought these were really nice elements in across the board. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rike, and we will come back to you later. Daniela Solis, I will go to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Well, first of all, I'm Daniela. I'm the coordinator of the Coalition of Action for Soil Health, what we call CASH. So CASH is a community of over 200 stakeholders united by this common mission to scale soil health globally. So we engage with all types of stakeholders, such as farm organizations, government, policymakers, NGOs, as well as youth specifically. That's one of our main focuses this year has been on youth as well, as they're key actors driving efforts on the ground. So how do we actually achieve our common mission? So what we do is that we drive this multi-stakeholder collaboration for soil health. We're also translating science into action. So, what we're hearing now is there's so many innovative solutions, but we need an enabling environment and evidence-based policy frameworks that enable these solutions to take place and also to scale. So we do get a lot of youth who reach out to us who have, issues with funding or how to write proposals. There's like capacity building, enabling this youth by providing them with the right tools and knowledge and beyond, because there's so much happening out there. We do have over 100 youth advocates who are engaging with the coalition, and they're all doing implementation on the ground with we're building the solutions corner to showcase what they're doing. So what we actually aim to do is to increase visibility on their projects that they're doing on the ground, as well as, access into funding, and also access to international events such as these ones. We had a lot of youth who had access to, who had the, they had badges for it, but they didn't have funding to actually travel to this event. So it's also about the inclusion in decision-making processes. We do not see enough youth in these processes. So that's one of the things we're doing at CASH as well. But I can further elaborate afterwards. It's a lot of info. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Thank you so much, Daniela, for these quick thoughts, so important. And I will pass it on to Kevin Perkins.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Kevin Perkins. I work at Farm Radio International. I'm the executive director of the organization. And what we do is work with about 1,500 independent radio stations across Africa. and help them tell these stories, right? Amplify these stories, stories like this, in a language and in a way that rural people like to consume the information. They like to listen to the radio, they like to hear their own voice, but they like to hear stories of success and ideas, but they also like to pose their questions and offer their feedback and hear how different people have experienced these kinds of solutions. We really take an approach where we work with all stakeholders and design a series of programs with the radio stations that help listeners learn about these kinds of solutions, evaluate them. You know, are these solutions for me? Are they for my family? What could I hope to gain? What are going to be the costs for me? How long will it take? Will I have to spend money? When can I start to see the benefits? And then the call to action we heard about, the critical part of that communication work always has to include that call to action. You've heard about it, you've evaluated, you've kicked the tires on the idea. It's time to decide, is this something you're going to apply? And if you do, we're here, the radio program is here, and with other advisory and extension services are here to support you as you implement and bring it out. And so that's kind of the approach we take, and love to hear the stories and solutions and just really see the need to take that kind of storytelling, knowledge sharing approach to scale it up in an appropriate way, an optimal way. No solution can be cookie cutter approach to every ecosystem. Every community is a bit different. Every family has different considerations. So how do you apply and adapt and have optimal benefits from it? So that's a kind of approach we try to take and think could be really beneficial to these great innovation stories.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, I would like to hear from Victor Muiru.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. First, welcome to FAO. Welcome to this session. Congratulations to the organizers of these sessions. So my name is Victor Mugomuiru, and I come from Kenya, and I work here with the World Food Forum as the head of local youth action. So just to start with a personal story is I grew up in rural Kenya. And one of the things that I noticed myself was the implications, direct implications on the lives of people due to poor soil health. So my parents have a 2-acre plot of land. And then my mom was really on the ground every single day in the farm. And while we started off, the farm was doing very well. It could be able to really support us in a way that was economically viable. But from time to time, because we didn't have, say, the sort of information, say the sort of cash incentives also to do something else to diversify the crops that we were making. The viability of the farm went dwindling down and down to a point where my parents had, my mother to be specific, had to look for an alternative method to sort of for an economic livelihood. And I think this is not the case with just my parents. Coming to think of it, it could be also traced to maybe the sort of fertilizers we are using, also monocropping, and in case of East Africa, just planting maize every single time, and the lack of knowledge and information on how one can really take care of the soils that are the foundation, because soils really are the foundation of life. And my aim was to study as hard as possible so that I can leave the farm, but I still work in the Food and Agriculture Organization, so I have not left the farm quite much. But even with this, I hope that those who are still in the farms, or those who are involved in policy, those who are involved in sort of educational initiatives and capacity development, can really emphasize and showcase the importance of regenerating our soils. And through this, we can really find ourselves at a place where hunger can be a thing of the past. And also that our farmers, those who really take care of our soils, their largest carbon sink, and they can also be adequately compensated for feeding the planet, but also taking care of our soils. So maybe I'll start from this and then look forward to the next questions.
Thank you so much for bringing to the table something so personal and deep and strong. I have a question that kind of collects and connects your perspectives. So you are all, it's open to all of you, because you talked about stories, about solutions, about knowledge sharing, about giving visibility to these stories and good practices, but also about capacity building. So I'm wondering how we can turn those stories and good practices into sustainable, economically and socially speaking, solutions. So what kind of capacity building can we really give to those stories, apart from visibility or even with visibility?
Have a go at it. Yes, I think something we think a lot about in EAFF is that we saw before, the research of how this works, the soil and all of that, but we really also need to know how does this work for the household rural economy. It's extremely important. We hear in the 10 years we have had focus also particularly on youth in rural areas. We hear two things quite often. When we ask the question, what are rural youth interested in? So, time to go home. No, so I think that there's kind of two sides always. One thing is, yes, we see a lot of youth in rural areas also very interested in the environmental issues, in the survival of the farms based on we need to treat the natural resource differently and better. So we do see that, but we also see the very common young people want fast money, to say it very bluntly. They want something that is more quicker turnaround, and they definitely don't want to do the heartbreaking or the backbreaking, better said, agriculture that their parents have been doing. So EAFF only works in developing countries. So it's in that context I'm speaking to. And I think we need to take both things very seriously. So in addition to the research on how soil is generating that knowledge about that, we also need to look at the socioeconomic part of it. How does it actually work for the rural economy? How does it work for the community economy? So this is some of the things that we are looking a lot at in EAFF right now, linked to our agroecology projects. We are trying to think of what is young people doing that is generating maybe some of the bio input that is needed in the agroecology production. How does that business look like? And how does it link to the other part of the rural economy that they're part of? And we do the same with the young people who are directly interested in the vegetable production, which often have a higher or faster turnaround. So really try to understand, how does this work? What is the transition period? If you need to recover your soil, there's a period. How are we going to finance that before you get your yields back up? So these issues, we need to crack those as well for the scaling of many, many good historians and models that we have out there.
Yes, I fully agree. I would support that a lot. Maybe for you to know, there is one thing that's relevant is that as soon as soil regeneration is put into place, that's putting a lot of energy into something that's not immediately profitable. And there's a lot of ecosystem services that are provided to the communities, which are not really accounted for, and they don't have a price when we sell our produce. And so I think to support more initiatives, as you have been talking, from a small scale farmers perspective, I would say one crucial part is providing access to land for people, also for longer times and not only for very short periods of times. And then some kind of a financial support, because essentially as soon as farming is done that's not only aiming to be profitable, there's always this gap between the hours that we invest and the money that we can make. And it would be great if the wider community could cover the farmers to provide decent conditions for life for the farmers, and allow them and give them the space to be able to do the regeneration work that is necessary. So that's basically policymakers, communities, municipalities that join together with the farmers and create a local food production environment that supports the farmers.
Yeah, just to come on this sort of topic, is I think there's magic in platforms. And while I see quite a lot of platforms on very many other topics, I mean, it's really crucial that we increase platforms on soil health. So thanks to Kash that are here, that are one of the platforms that are doing this. But I get the sense that there's a lot of co-creation that happens in platforms. In essence, the World Food Forum is a platform, and even in it, there could be much more engagement on this topic. While looking at some of the programs that we do, say on policy and advocacy, for example, there's a fisheries constituency that brings together young people, young students who are young fisher folk, young professionals that are in this sort of value chain. And since soil health really covers quite a number of people and quite a number of segments, quite a number of sectors, it will be good to see how a constituency could be created that can be able to better advocate for soil health. I feel like soil health becomes a very political topic, and there's a lot of interest. And as young people, we need to be at the forefront of advocating for the regeneration of soils. Looking at other ways in which as a lot of us has been spoken about, education, capacity development, showcasing of initiatives, and there's a lot that also goes into innovation and what innovation would look like even for regenerative practices. For example, what the agroecological farm is doing is really innovative. And so we do not have to think about brick and mortar in terms of innovation, but some of these innovative practices and how they can be able to reach scale. And lastly, from the World Food Forum perspective, one of the ways that I think we can be able to engage more on this subject is through World Food Forum national chapters. I really liked what one of our chapters did. Instead of sort of dividing into the different political divisions that are there, they are divided according to agroecological zones. So the youth meet based on the agroecological zones, and because of this, then they have common soils, common climate, common geography almost, and this helps them to coalesce around common issues instead of just the political divisions that are there. Instead of districts, instead of states, they do this according to agroecological zones, and because of that, they've been better able to advocate for issues that are quite pertinent to them based on their agroecological zone. So yeah, these are some of the things that I think platforms can be able to do. And while there are quite a number of them right now, I think there could be much more work into platforms for advocating for soil health.
Thank you so much. There is a last concluding remarks on this.
On what you mentioned, about this co-creation, and I think that's one of the main things that we're trying to do at CASH as well. Like we have a lot of youth engaging, but there's like very different specific needs and depending on their context. So what we've created is this Youth for Soil initiative, where we have this. We have youth who can reach out to us to be part of the mentorship initiative, where we're matching mentors to mentees. But again, we have way more mentees and mentors. So we're looking for mentors who would like to share a bit more about their skills to guide youth in their, capacity building, implementation, building a roadmap and a really timeline on how to achieve their projects. And then as well, because we have way more mentees than mentors, we've launched this working group where we're engaging with youth in policy, actually, and, really to implement this policy, because they have a key role to play in developing the policies in the decision-making processes and also in the implementation. So what we try to do is provide technical support for the implementation, for the monitoring, for as well as communications as well, because that's quite a lot of, we have very small local organizations led by youth who need support with their funding and their communication strategies. So that's how we aim to support them. And then just, I know maybe if we have enough time, I did want to share a story about one of our youth who is Colombo Mbelisi, who co-founded a refugee-led organization in the Naki Valley refugee settlement in Uganda. Where they're facing, issues with access to land, as well as their malnourishment and extreme poverty. So he co-founded this organization to really use soil health as a foundation for sustainable agriculture, as well as community resilience. And then by empowering their local communities, they're increasing knowledge to really, to increasing knowledge in sustainable soil management techniques. And then this is leading to healthier and more productive agricultural land. So that's one of our youth, and we have over 100 youth all over the world, and more reaching out to us. So yeah, we need support and funding and more. Thank you. Maybe if you wanted to go ahead.
Okay, I can be very brief. I know we're almost out of time, but just capacity building also for the communicators, the people who share the knowledge out, tell the stories, whether it's journalists, extension workers, digital advisors. They need to know about these soil health solutions and have the skills and abilities to offer it up and to work for media or for extension service providers that have the resources to support them in that.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Omari, do you have anything to add? Any last thoughts?
Yes. My comment would be like, we need to take serious these soil earth issues, because it's affecting our young farmers' incomes, and it's making it become more challenging to them to sustain their farming activities and invest in their future. So I think we really need to pay a serious attention to it and to reverse the situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see Lucas as well, if you want to add a few last words.
Sure. Well, way too often we would visit the farm and we would feel that, when we would ask a farmer, do you know another farmer who's doing a, regenerative work in your surrounding area? Quite often they would say, I'm not sure, I feel kind of lonely. And when we would show them our map of, a global map of all those kind of lighthouse farms, of the farms that are doing such great work, they would feel, that we're like, okay, I don't feel alone anymore. And, quite often the neighboring farms, they would think about them. You're like, they're the trailblazers, but at the same time, the neighboring farms, they would be suspicious about their work. Like, I'm gonna see and look if you're gonna do it well, or if you're gonna make money, or if you will fail. And if you will make money, I will consider, and I will follow those practices. So I think quite often you just need to showcase more of those stories, in a sense that somebody on the internet suddenly gets a little bit more inspired by some of those practices. But it's very dangerous if you get inspired by some of the solutions or practices from a very different agroecological zones, right? So I think one of the speakers was referring that it's good to share knowledge, but it's good that those solutions come from those areas that you are also belonging to. So yeah, that would be from our side. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these last remarks. And finally, for the closing remarks, we would like to hear from Pernilla Ivarsson, Deputy Permanent Representative to FAO, Swedish government.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is, as you said, Pernilla Ivarsson. I work at the Swedish Embassy here in Rome, and I cover FAO. I spend a lot of time in this building, and not least in this meeting room. And I have to say, this is one of the more inspiring, maybe the most inspiring meeting I've been to. So for me, it has been a real pleasure. So it's an honor to give the closing remarks. Also, perhaps on a personal note, I'm an agricultural economist, and my thesis I produced in the horticultural department at Alnarp. So it's also very good to hear what is happening in my old university now. And I have to say, what you're doing is so much more exciting than I was doing in my time. In addition, also so inspiring to listen to the engagement and high level of knowledge among the participants today. Also the fact that you brought in so many various perspectives from also different parts of the world, I think really gives a very full picture of the situation. So I will give a few points to conclude this session. One important point that I take with me is, of course, the role of healthy soils for sustainable food systems now and in the future. Land degradation threatens the quality of life of current and coming generations globally. So this side event again confirms the interdependence of healthy soils, biodiversity, sustainable food production, nutrition, and health. So to understand and apply a system approach is, of course, key. But it also means that healthy soils is part of a One Health approach. We have to think a little bit wider than just on the soils. And I think that is important, not least for the Rome-based organizations, which are really working on a One Health approach. Another important point is, as we've heard from many of the speakers, is that there are solutions. And degraded soils can be restored, and there are many ongoing initiatives to learn from. And it seems like knowledge and science is still evolving. And we're, of course, going beyond techniques. This is not just a technical issue. I think it became very clear that this is about knowledge sharing. It's about enabling an environment. It's about training, etc. For instance, engaging in regenerative agriculture is one concrete measure to be taken. And in addition, regenerative agriculture can contribute to job and good management of labor, but also of animals, of cultivation, and ecosystems. And I've spent some time in this building these days, and it seems like really the term regenerative agriculture is very much in vogue. So I think it's also quite important to keep it safe. Really, what do you mean? Because there is a huge demand to capitalize on the value of that term. So I think you who work with it need to hold on to it. Third point, the role of youth is in this process. 85% of the world's 1.2 billion young people are living in regions that are directly dependent on land and natural resources for sustenance. It's quite clear that land degradation is a youth issue, and it's necessary that young people can contribute to policy and take action to avoid, minimize, and reverse land degradation, just as the participants today are doing. Fourth, it's also important that there is an inclusive support system in place. Ability to act as agents of change is, of course, influenced by young people's geographical and socioeconomical setting, which in turn affects their access to education, to knowledge, skills, land, and funding. Including and supporting youth across the system is necessary. So FAO and IFAD are examples of UN organizations that have created initiatives or facilitated creation of youth constituencies. And of course, this is what this week is about. Another example for my own country is where our government has appointed a youth representative in our Swedish FAO committee, offering both the space and the influence for advising the government. In addition, knowledge platforms like SIANI, and I think also what you represent as CASH, is amplifying how young people's initiatives and actions can move on. So on that note, I wish to particularly thank SIANI for highlighting this important issue through the event today. But let me also express my thanks to the rest of the organizers and all the participants who were here today, and of course, you two who moderated this and took us through these nice terms and words that unite us. As anyone, of course, everyone in the audience. And what I picked up today, I think it came through, there is a need for action, but for me, a new term, aggressive patience. So I have to go home and think a little bit about that, but thank you so much for being here.
And thank you so much for staying. We kept you a little bit longer, but I hope it was worth it. So if you have questions for us or the panelists or the speakers, do reach out to us. You can always contact me at SIANI, and I will direct you if you want to know more or learn more or get in contact with someone. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the week.